Thank you. My name is Łukasz Semeniuk, and today and also during the previous editions of WEBCON Day, we were speaking of love to BPS and of love between business and IT. And I'm the person in the company who represents the sales department, which means that I'm here to take care of this feeling amongst our clients with regard to BPS. And by the end of the day, I have to think whether I am doing my sales plan or not. And the management board keeps reminding me of that every day. Therefore, there is this romanticism to begin with, but then there is the pragmatic thing on the other hand, and I need some tools that help me to work and realize my tasks, and the board needs reporting, and so they also need tools. And before I give the floor to Teresa Bokalska, ROHLIG SUUS, who is going to talk about the implementation, I would like to talk about the common points between the CRM and the WEBCON BPS. So if we are to do this exercise right now, let's play this Chinese whispers game. And of course, in our case, it would run for a long time in our group of people. For instance, what do you think of CRM? And then you start passing on this information from person to person. Then, by the end of this line, you would come up with a very surprising set of results. It would definitely will not be the thing that was said as by the first person in line, because every one of us has a somewhat different perception of CRM, because we work in different companies, in different industries, we have different experiences with sales. So sales processes are arranged in different ways in different companies. Even the database, or how about the counterparty's file, and there will have different bits and pieces of information. Those could be appointments, contracts, bids, quotations. This could be all sorts of information related to a business partner, to a counterparty. And as I have been looking at all those possible experiences and ways of handling clients, I thought of coming up with a definition of CRM. So I wanted to see what CRM actually is, and I did not rediscover America. This is a way in which we arrange our sales processes. Also, it means an implementation of such a process that reflects the sales practices, and all of that is done so as to draw benefits, to gain long-term benefits due to improved sales. And all of that, Gartner has a somewhat expanded view of sales processes, and Gartner looks from the purchasing side. So they see that purchasing behavior this year, well, obviously behaviors change and behaviors have changed, but the consequence of this changing behavior is that sales also has to adjust to the changing purchase processes, and purchase processes are not simple, they're quite complex. Therefore, we need to adjust sales processes. And as far as the sales side is concerned, we need to shorten those processes. So we need a path that is the shortest possible path from the time of taking a decision. So we have a couple of versions and a couple of possibilities or different paths that could be followed, and all of that needs to be reflected in this system. And to make it more complex, we add know-how to that. This is our experience that we have gained, and the way you usually sell your services or products, because you know your products best. And so you know best how to encourage others to buy your products and services. Anyway, the entire thing means that there are two elements. There are processes, fine, okay, that's clear, that's a piece of news. And the second thing that we have at hand is change a variable environment. And it is a variable environment, which means fine that we have established a sales process, but it's not it. It's not that we have tool and now we'll have benefits, but everything keeps changing. So we need to, for instance, set new goals for the next quarter, next year. That is a continuous process, which means that we continuously have to adjust our sales processes to the changing environment, which means that we have to keep on changing our tools. Right, so we have know-how, we know that processes change, we know how we need to implement them in our company, then this needs to be translated into a system. And there are two pieces of information. It's processes plus variability. So let's imagine you are at home and to feel really comfortable with all those systems. So I would like to show you a couple of tools that in our portal are quite useful, and they're useful for me as a person that uses such a CRM system myself. So we have a portal with applications. Everything is available from one site. So I have information on processes. I know who is the caregiver to this application, but I have to act quick. So, for instance, I need to register a contact quickly, to make an appointment quickly, handle a contract quickly, which means I should have really good contextual search. This could be calculations, or maybe I'm looking for an activity. So this should work fast. Also, I need to gain access to information I need quickly. And this information is somewhere there in the system anyway. This could be a contract, or this may be a meeting that has taken place. This may be a bid. So I need to find an NDA with a company X. So sure, I can go to reports first, find the contract, but it's enough for me to write down X space NDA and immediately get it. And I don't have even to dig into that document because I see an access. And therefore, if I need to see contracts, then I find those contracts and agreements very, very quickly without unnecessary clicking. Next thing, access to reports. From my point of view, it's important because I can develop dashboards that will collect all the information that I need from CRM in one place. And also it is useful from the point of view reporting to the board. That is to say, it helps me to see how good are we at the realization of our goals. Then, sales work is all about email and telephone. So email is communication, and email is the tool that I look Outlook a lot. And some of you with whom I have worked, you know that in the subject field there is this information WEBCON hash and then a hashtag and then a number. Why? Because that goes into CRM, and I can actually attach it to a contract or to a project. So I simply I can do that now very easily and in a comfortable way. And some operations I can do without ever leaving the Outlook itself, because I have here icons for sorting, and I have a search engine that gives me access to the elements that I need. And so it helps me to run the process. And as I have been preparing for today, and I've looked at our system, and I analyzed our own system and the way it works, and one can clearly see that I am a sales guy, a sales department person, because here we can see all the applications that I use, and all of them are client related. And of course there is a WEBCON Day application which also enables me to run an event. So as you can see, I have all that information in one place. And it is not only my experience, it's not only my point of view, such is the point of view of our partners and clients. And those are very different clients. And as I've said before, CRM is a very versatile field of knowledge, and therefore it requires individual approach. And this is why we have BPS, because BPS allows us to handle these processes in an individual way. And sometimes it cannot be handled by the out-of-the-box solution. And besides, many processes in the sales department keep on changing, so we need to react fast to such changes. And reasons for implementations are very different. and I'm not going to list all of them right now. We can talk about it in the couloirs. However, today, some people have already mentioned those needs for change, because not all companies have CRM, by the way. For instance, the counterparties file and some other processes attached to this card, it's already the beginning of a CRM, or actually it already is a CRM. So let us listen now to the next presentation, how such implementation looks like in practice. Therefore, it's over to Teresa from Logistics Company. So, as Łukasz says, not only have we implemented a CRM, we have a full set of knowledge about all of our counterpartners. My name is Teresa Bukalska. I'm the head of project management department at Rohlig SUUS Logistics. And to begin with, I would like to show a brief video material that will introduce you to our company.
Mam nadzieję, że film przybliżył Państwu.
I hope that this video material has introduced you to our industry, which is truth. Size matters. It's quite a burden for a company like ours to transplant a heart, that is to say, to exchange the entire CRM. But how did it happen? Since 2003, we had a CRM that was being developed together with a company. However, that system was quite old-fashioned. Yes, you can wear old shoes, but perhaps you should have versatile footwear. Therefore, we took a decision to replace the CRM. And we were looking through the best out-of-the-box solutions, and we chose one of them. And we usually do the proof of concept trials. And during proof of concept, our zeal and the zeal of a potential vendor was flagging. And so we started looking for a new solution. We already had some good experiences with BPS because we introduced workflow for invoices, and we developed a good repository for digital documents. But good cooperation with a partner also mattered. We cooperated with a head office. Those really cool guys, and those guys are so flexible, and they knew our processes already, and they knew all the abbreviations for all of our departments and all of our sites. So we took a decision that together with the Archidoc, we will develop our own CRM using BPS as a basis. And we started analyzing we started the business analysis. And this is the slide I really like because many times we use it in our own projects. Because it shows the basic elements that need to be taken into consideration when we're speaking about mention a new implementation. What is the basis? It's processes and process analysis. The analysis helps us to develop a new process or processes. We do not copy old solutions. We look only for new possibilities. We do not digitize the mess. That is an important thing to remember. It's a good opportunity. Place things in order and automate operations as much as you can. And we begin with happy flow. That is the process that runs well from A to Z. But then we start adding other threads to the process, such elements that are maybe less successful, and there may be some anomalies. And to processes we add reports and different forms, usually in the form of digitalized forms. And the last element are interfaces.
Mniej biznesowa.
And this is a less business thing, more technical thing, but it is important from the point of view of implementation. And eventually, to all those processes, interfaces, reports, and forms, we add authorizations. And in case of our CRM, and this, let's call it CRM, okay? The basic analysis was done with regard to sales processes. So we had to create a mega process so that users will have could easily move from sales leads to business opportunities, from RFI to RFQ, and so on and so forth. And also transport companies. This is quite an important group of our partners, counterparties. And it is important for us to see whether they have licenses, whether they have insurances, and so on and so forth. And in our company, we use the ESB, that is the data bus. And so all the data goes to the bus, and then it is this data is consumed by other users. So our CRM is communicated with the accounting system, and this is how it is connected to the email portal, client portal, transport portal, and so on and so forth. And we use, and here we are connected with the external data sources. So we are connected to the court register of companies or to the register of private companies, and therefore getting information on companies is quite easy. Right. So far you might think that everything went smooth in this project, which was not the case, because there were some challenges on the way. And that was this matrix. It is the matrix from hell, as we call it, a hellish matrix, because those are different levels of complications, like rings of hell in Dante. For instance, how about zip codes assigned to vendors? How about departments? How about exception management, and so on and so forth? Those challenges we had to face, and both us and our vendor had to work on it. Just to remind you, this matrix could not be handled by an out-of-the-box solution, but BPS managed to do it. Now, a video material, it will show you a business rule implemented in the system, and if we are to take a picture, it would not be legible. And perhaps, but some of you might be interested in this element of configuration.
Idąc dalej.
Moving on. In projects, when business approach you, they say, it's going to be straightforward, 9 processes, we don't need any more. That's what they say. Here, it was similar. At first, we had 9 processes and 65 attributes and 15 reports, 25 forms. But then came analysis. You looked into BPS functionalities, and ultimately what we implemented were 54 processes, 6 times more than initially estimated. When it comes to attributes, reports, and forms, the results are equally impressive. PMO in the middle, it's about the Project Management Office. That's what it stands for. So in such deployments, we use both Agile and Prince methodologies. We know very well what we want. However, the scope is tailored to the needs in a flexible manner so that you get this wow effect. Judging by our users' reactions, this is exactly the effect that we got. Our CRM system has its own name. It was selected by the employees. We had a competition, and the name is Flow. There were many suggestions related to the name of the company, Sus Forbes, and even Susel, which is a name of a mammal. And ultimately, logistics is all about the flow of goods and information. The definition actually tells you that logistics is about time-related resource management. A few screens to prove to you what we have in the system. The latest version is still unavailable because we didn't want to use it. It was a major implementation. Anyway, we looked at more than just processes. We also looked at comfort, or in other words, user experience. This is a start website. So a user reaches the desired place by clicking. Progress report shows you where they are in terms of process progress. How we've accomplished that? Well, this is some secret knowledge, but we can share it with you backstage. Size does matter. As we said, 23 months. That's how it took us to deploy. 40 people were involved to create a concept. 17,000 testing scenarios. Well, any attribute could be connected with any other. 17,000 scenarios were prepared by us, and then the supplier would test it, confirm that it works well in the system, and then they would give us feedback, and then we would retest it. What do we have at this point? 550 active users, another 200 licenses are pending, waiting to be used. Another important thing, the migration was major. 63,000 contractors were migrated. It was done in stages. More people than you can fit in this national stadium. You would have 59,000 people there if you added police on top of spectators. And what goals were achieved? The full commissioning took place 3 weeks ago, and our work is better organized, our communication is better, we can better monitor efficiency as well. In 2 months' time, we will have reached all of the original goals. Mind you, we are not reading from tea leaves, we simply know what we planned, and we need users to work with the system live so that we can populate the system with data that we can later use. And another slide for you. Ladies and gentlemen, the deployment team. These are the fathers and mothers of our success. People from Arkido company, a supplier, but also from our side as well. Rafał Kawa and Michał Goty are not in the photo, but they are present in this very room. And a bit of trivia for you. What about our headquarters? We work in the same building as Arkido, a company. Mind you, communication is key in such a project. So many things were discussed in an elevator or in a staircase. This is the team that accomplished a great thing. They built a system from scratch. The system and the project was not perfect, but they delivered it in a truly perfect way.
Dzień dobry, witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie. Ja nazywam się
My name is Łukasz Hechelski. I have just a few minutes to tell you about technicalities of a certain action that are important when you create a CRM. Moving on to the list of functionalities that were used when creating this CRM flow. As a word of introduction, what I'm going to tell you are standard BPS functionalities. You don't need to buy extra licenses to actually use these single functionalities. I am not going to take too long, and I'll focus on the first three items here. ADREM. When this integration and the calling of these REST and SOAP interfaces has been in the software for a long time. I believe it started with version 7.7. What's the main functionality? The user needs not to be a coder to configure it. Usually, when we meet our clients for the first time and we discuss the integration tool and how to do things, they tend to be rather skeptical because they think of long XMLs and other things that sound hellish to the business side of things. But it's not so. Work service. How do you bring it up? You have one big creator. So you've got the SOAP interface. Basically, the structure is generated. You have this tips mechanism, and you can move stuff from this form to actions. Swagger is quoted here for the second time, as well as this API. Why for the second time? First, it's great. It's simply true. That's it. Secondly, a small test. Hands up, all of you who use our REST API. 5, not many. Another question. Before WEBCON Day, who knew that we had it? Oh, you're not really well prepared, are you? Oh, right. REST API, a few words about that. For a year, we have been working on this API so that it would look the way we shouldn't be, so that we wouldn't be ashamed of it. This is just a fraction of the methods that are actually available in this API. Mind you, we have not said the last word because we keep working on this functionality. We are listening in to our partners and clients of our partners so that we know where to go next. Now, the full documentation, the whole interface is available at this website. The address is given here. And some of you possibly are thirsty for more knowledge, approach us and we'll be able to tell you more about the interface. So, SOAP and REST, when you call it, it's not only about an action, it's also a source of data. This is a screen from an old version. Here you can define both connections to these two interfaces, but also you can define dictionaries that you can link to any selection field, whether it's a header or a list of items. It's difficult to have a good CRM object without correlation between flows. This functionality has been embedded in the BPS for a long time now. You can create flows and subflows one-to-one, one-to-many, so that you can have work flowing in parallel and you can separate certain processes from one another. Configuration. It's also a creator. Imagine we start one flow for one parent. We can fully use this mechanism. We call it the insight giver. So you can move these things from the form to the actions area, and you can have flows that create a subflow to any given element. Another thing that you can do is creating many subflows. Here things get more complex, because here the user will have to know more. For example, they will have to know enough about SQL to create a simple query so as to shorten that. Look at this configuration that you see in the screen shot. Here you have 4 subflows with one parent, and you can see it on the side. So you have these correlated flows and subflows. When they are correlated, as we said, you find it easier to do reporting, not only using WebArt or as WC, but you can also use external sources, Microsoft reporting services, or Power BI, which is gaining in popularity now. Those of you who are actually using these functionalities, please share your experience with those people that are still hesitating, mind you, not here, but during a break. Hopefully they will also discover this propensity to becoming a hero. Thank you so very much. And back to the studio.